When lead reacts with sulfuric acid, you initially see some bubbles, but the surface of lead turns white and the reaction stops despite there still being lead and sulfuric acid left in the test tube. Explain why the reaction stops. Well, when lead reacts with sulfuric acid, we're going to get lead sulfate produced. Lead sulfate is produced in the reaction with lead and sulfuric acid. And that is the white deposit. Lead and sulfuric acid. And that's the white deposit we see. And lead turns white. Now lead sulfate, now this is the bit that you may struggle with, linking why you should know this. If you go back to your Year 10 book, your Year 10 chemistry workbook, and you come into the acids module, okay, we have this salt solubility table here. And it tells us dissolves in water, and it says common sulfate. So we'd expect lead sulfate to be soluble. But of course on this side we have our exceptions. Doesn't dissolve, insoluble. Doesn't dissolve. Well, common sulfates are soluble, but except those of lead, barium and calcium. Lead sulfate is insoluble. So that's what we need to say here. The lead sulfate produced is insoluble. Is insoluble. I'll say that's the white deposit. Now that blocks this sulfate. Blocks, it provides a barrier, if you like. This sulfate blocks the acid from reacting with the lead underneath. It's kind of like painting a metal. If you paint it, it stops any oxygen and water from the atmosphere getting to the metal, so it stops the metal corroding. Lead sulfate simply blocks the acid from getting to the metal. All these questions and more on elshamhighchemistry.com.